You can't quit on a Friday. This was from my last job, global financial firm with initials MUS. I was a contractor in the IT department there for over a year, had a lot of complaints against them, original manager forgot to file paperwork costing me a free position, overworked, culture that tried to sell more work as being a sign of praise rather than pay you to do more work, etc. Well, it was time for me to move on. I'd scored a great state job, better pay, great benefits, still work from home, and even then the office was even closer. All around they wouldn't be able to compete. They were aware of this for about 2 months as they almost sank it by dragging their heels on some verifications like employment verification. I even flat out told my manager I'd be leaving at the end of the month. Finally had my official start date, gave a bit over 2 weeks notice to quit on a Friday so I could start my first day on Monday. Here is where the stupidity begins. This place has a policy to run all software updates on Sunday, so every Monday is hell. Everything is broken due to poor QA, all hands on deck, if you call off they are gonna fight you, etc. They like to bully people and everyone who left had some attempt to get him to stay longer. And it has sadly worked. People don't get how little power they actually have. So my time came, manager calls me up, goes on and on with BS, tells me it's not proper etiquette to give only 2 weeks notice, since when? That I should know it takes a minimum of 3 weeks to complete training, so I should know they can't replace me in time. You had 1 to 2 months already. And how can I do this to my coworkers in selfish and a bad person? So this doesn't get the reaction or response management wants. Now they bring out policy, they tell me it's against company policy to quit on a Friday. I know this is bullshit, but they don't really hand out policy books here, and our is kinda. Well, for contractors it's not a thing, contractors are second-class workers with hardly any rights after all. Still I'm leaving the company, how does this affect me? I tell them something to the effect that I'm the one quitting, I'm still going to leave on that Friday. Seriously not sure how this was going in their mind, they doubled down that I had to work that next Monday for them. I think hoping to get their foot in the door, ruin my next job, etc. Well, this isn't working for them now, is it? They are really fuming now. So they give their ultimatum, if I won't work that Monday then I am to sign out and not clock back in until I have changed my mind. They are looking smug, they are effectively threatening to fire me early, making me lose out on money and stuff. They know we don't have PTO. Well, I also have no care at this point. My finances are fine, my new job I need a full suit for. I guess I earned myself an unpaid vacation. I log out, they keep looking smug, leave me with another. Remember, don't clock in until you've decided to be reasonable. The next day I don't log in. A few hours later I get a call screaming about how I'm late and I've caused so many problems. I cut him off saying I'm still not coming in Monday, so per our meeting I'm not to clock in. Silence. They ask if I'm serious. I ask if they were serious yesterday. They call me a pug-headed fool and tell me to just come in on Monday like they asked. Thought this was a demand. They then wait a moment and ask if I'm going to grow up and come back in. Well, I'm bored at this point and ask if they are going to pay my new rate on Monday. I get a confused no. And I tell them they have their answer. They called every day that last week, bouncing between apologies, insults, browbeating, etc., while still always standing on the you need to come in on Monday. This was a whole week of them, sometimes multiple days, begging me to come in even part of the day to dig them out of holes, but then doubling down that, if you come in that does mean you're coming back all the way through Monday, right? I'd already dropped off their equipment already since I didn't need any of it at this point, even if I did finish my week. They even called on Monday to tell me I was fired for not showing up. I still think they thought I was joking or playing hardball for a promo or raise. It's the only reason I have for all that. Or they really thought I'd throw my new job for them. They had a big focus on company loyalty that a lot of people seem to buy into, so maybe they just assumed I'd be loyal. I did hear my old manager had to fill in for me as they couldn't get anyone to do my shift and my jobs, and that now months later my manager and several others quit as everything is buckling. They promised more than they could deliver and drove off experienced EMPS like me. Too long did not read. Job tries everything to keep me from quitting and leaving the company on a Friday, gives an ultimatum. I call their bluff and get called all week to come back before being called and fired after my 2 weeks was up. You need to come in, Monday. No, my last day is Friday. You better be here, on Monday. No, I finish on Thursday. Please, 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 we need you here on Monday. No, Wednesday is my final day. FCKU, your ass better be here, on the dot, Monday. Nope. Today was my last day. There is a special place in hell for characters like these managers who don't give a flying flip about their employees. Some stupid managers running around out there. They had their chances to treat you better, and pay you better. You held up your end of the agreement. Not being ideal or comfortable for them doesn't constitute an emergency for you. Why didn't they just offer to pay you double for the day, work with your new employer and explain things, and then let you be on your way? I mean, even the most generous reasoning still doesn't make sense from their perspective by acting like that. Is this the USA? That's fucking hilarious. I'm guessing, if you were a good contractor, you also took detailed notes for your permanent colleagues to follow up on, maybe ask you questions. If they didn't hire any competent people, not your problem. All contractors I've ever met are very good and detailed with documentation. They call me a pug-headed fool. That was a nice compliment. Speaking as the owner of multiple pugs since 2005. I'd have put up an auto-response saying that I was suspended until further notice and to contact ex-manager if they need anything. And not responded at all. This company is so weird. What insane behavior. Wow. Nicely handled. There really is a weird culture of loyalty and fear at Mus. We would see mass layoffs on one day, only to receive a company-wide email the next from the CEO about how hard it was on him to make the decision, never mind the record profits. Follow that by, "Okay team, time to roll up our sleeves," from management. Everyone outside of sales seemed to be terrified of losing their jobs at any second, but at the same time refused to leave the company for better conditions. It's a super strange place where the best and hardest working stay in their positions, while the mediocre fail upwards and the Pareto principle is in full effect. Laughing all the way to the beach. You want me to come in on Monday? Well, my rate for that day is $1,000 per hour. You want me to come in on Tuesday as well? That day costs $2,000 per hour. That's a crazy work environment. I manage IT teams with both on-site and offshore contractors. Our contractors are paid hourly and are only allowed to work a 40-hour workweek. I would have to get 2 levels of management approval before my contractors can work over 40 hours. If that company wasn't paying you hourly as a contractor, then that would imply you are salaried, which would imply you're an employee, which would imply employee benefits. At any time and for any reason, I can terminate a contractor. It also goes both ways. A contractor can quit at a moment's notice. When that happens, the other party has very little or no leverage. I would have sounded exasperated and said, "Fine, I'll see you on Monday," and then not showed up. Regardless, well done. You should call them one day and tell them you are trying to get in but your card is not working. Can you please come let me in? They likely tried it on you because it worked out for them so well with the others in the past. They must not have the time to read Reddit and know that employees now know they have the upper hand. Block that number, proceed with next life. Should have just said yes, worked until Friday, then not worked the Monday. LMAO is if any company and force you to not quit on a certain day. I had a job working for a paper recycling plant in Savannah, Georgia. The boss was a real jerk. I left work one day and came back 2 weeks later to get my paycheck. He told me, "You were supposed to give me a 2-week notice." I told him I gave you 2 weeks to notice I wasn't coming to work. If you didn't notice, do I still get paid for it? He told me to get my check and get out. Those sound like some gaslighting, abusive pieces of shit at that company. OP might be able to claim harassment if they kept calling and OP told them not to call again. Like, am I being detained? Was this a company name that sounded like jizz? I always save calls like those for when I am on the toilet. They hear the flush. Every time. I read these types of posts and while I believe them, they almost seem like fiction. Perhaps I've never actually been essential, or met anyone who was, but I've never run across a company that would do any of this type of behavior, toward anyone, and actually expect them to stick it out. If anything, you start hinting around you're gone and maybe not even say the words before you're asked to turn in your stuff before you can put in your 2 weeks for fear of sabotage. Remember folks, don't be loyal to your company cause your company won't be loyal to you. The bigger the company the more true it is. I would have blocked their phone numbers after they told you to go home. Guess my last day is today and then go celebrate. I'd have agreed to come in on Monday. I wouldn't have come in on Monday, but I'd have agreed to it. Because any company that treats you like that deserves to suffer. You should file unemployment for those 2 weeks lol. They basically fired you. Company loyalty, while leaving you as a contractor with no benefits. Lol. Just more evidence these scum would enslave you if they could. This is the type of abusive stalker behavior that people file restraining orders over. Company policy doesn't mean fuck all if you no longer work for them, now does it? I was forced to sign an NDA on my way out. They broke their own contract by not paying me out. Now I tell everyone how shit they are. Makes it clear you quit on a Friday multiple times. Gets fired on the Monday afterward. You said they called you daily and even multiple times per day that last week. Was it the same person every time, or did they cycle, escalate through various levels of management? I've been in petty enough work environments where this matters to my personal enjoyment of your story. I don't understand why you entertained even a minute of all that. I was a software dev contractor for years. You just walk, period. If it was a good relationship, they get 2 weeks notice, more for the better places. For the shitty ones, about 2 minutes notice. Done. It's a company policy, but I don't work for your company anymore. Sounds like they rely on the ignorance of the employee. I know someone that would constantly verbally abuse his employees for working too slow. Gave them wrong information all the time and relied on their ignorance on worker rights to manipulate them. Know your rights. Company loyalty is a great thing, but it is a two-way street. In my last job, when I decided to quit and they started their standard manipulation shtick, I just sat on my hands until someone noticed that nothing was being done. Manager scheduled a meeting with me where I told him that I was waiting for him to notice and asked him if he wants to fire me on the spot or is giving me notice to sit on my hands the next few weeks. It was glorious. Great work. I would have called the police. After the second call, it's harassment to badger an employee who has obviously quit already. They fired you, so you should file for unemployment. Even if it's extra hassle, I really do hope that you applied for unemployment after they fired you. Even if it was just for a single day, or a week, forcing them to dole that out would be the ultimate petty revenge. You know you make your own hours as a contractor and can quit whenever you want, right? Screw their policy. I wouldn't have given him 2 weeks.